called one of our roommates Ketamine Cat because he was almost never there. And when he did, he was kind of persistently in just like a constant K-hole that hovered over him the way that like storm clouds hover over Eeyore or like the cloud of filth around Pigpen and Peanuts. And it was more pleasant to imagine him as like the sort of anthropomorphic Hobbes-esque cartoon character as opposed to like a human being who I once watched used an entire roll of paper towels just to clean the kitchen island.
Nice.
So you don't shun the devil with your rock and roll load. Knows that country music's gonna save your soul. The devil runs his groove in them rhythm and blues that sound. It's gonna get you some in the end.
Welcome back to the Speakeasy. I'm Sother Teague.
I'm Greg Benson, and we're back, baby. We are back from spring break. How is it doing liebacks of Jose Cuervo in Panama City, which I know you always do on spring break, Sother. I know this is your time to really get some R&R and just be yourself, you know?
Listen, my tan lines are just burn lines. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what's important. You got to get that base burn for your first vacation in like April or March of the year. And then you just build, I'm pretty sure this is what my dermatologist said last year. Then you just build a nice tan off of it.
Yeah. You know, when I was a kid, we used butter as our sun enhancer. Wasn't a sunscreen, that's for sure.
Jesus.
I know. The beach smelled great. Smelled like breakfast all the time.
See, there you go. Everyone looks super sexy and tanned, and the beach smells like you're making eggs. So I don't think this has any negative health effects, and I don't see any problem with this whatsoever.
Listen, my experience must be everyone's experience, right?
Yes, obviously. These are the principles we've all decided as a group to regulate the world by. So we're stuck here.
We dipped out for 2 weeks for spring break, as it were, and a lot of news has happened. What have you seen on the news front that we need to at least touch on?
Honestly, weirdly, a lot of good stuff. And I'm not talking about the world at large. Don't worry. You didn't miss anything nice that affects the world or you individually as a person, but you did miss some good news in the world of drinks. First of all, this is actually breaking as of last night when we're taping this. Last night, the Brown-Forman Pernod Ricard merger reached a stalemate. So it looks like that's not going to happen, which is great.
I think that's a good thing. Yeah.
I agree. You know, I run a business, buy Quixote agave nectar, do it. So I can't be full Marxist on this show. I can't like wave the like down with capitalism flag and also be like buy my shit because that would make me a huge hypocrite. But I do think that competition is extremely important. And from what I was seeing, it looked like this merger would have really limited that. It would have limited the pricing options of a lot of wholesalers and retailers and consumers. And I think, you know, obviously history is never done. There's rumors that Sazerac has I think, $15 billion all cash bid in for Brown-Forman, but it looks like, the competitive booze landscape lives to fight another day, which is good.
Yeah, but, you know, I'm glad that this one didn't go through. But as you just said, Sazerac is chomping at their heels and something like that will probably go through. And granted, they're not nearly as big as Pernod Ricard, but it's still going to do the things that you said. It's going to limit choice. It's going to probably change pricing structures. You know, it's just another example of the larger fish consuming the smaller fish, making simply less fish. Yeah.
Yes. Which is why we need regulation to stop these things. You know, maybe someday. Not now. We can't.
You mean a functioning government?
Yeah, one of those. We should have one of those.
That's our other show. That's our other show all about politics. Yeah, sauced.
What else good happened while we were gone? Oh, this is cool. The Supreme Court ruled that a ban on home distillation was unconstitutional. So get out those home stills, everybody. You can fully make moonshine in your apartment and no one can bust down your door. Yeah, I saw our guest exchange knowing like, oh, interesting over there.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this one because my understanding has always been that the two reasons, main reason is money. So the number one reason that distillation at home was criminalized was because this limits the government's ability to tax every ounce of, you know, proof alcohol, which certainly is a driver for a lot of reasons, economic mostly. But I also kind of assumed that one of the major reasons that home distilling was illegal was because it's quite dangerous in numerous ways. There's plenty of opportunity for fires and explosions. That's one. And then, there's alchemy going on here. If you don't cut the heads and the tails correctly, you remember all the old movies and cartoons about the moonshiners up in the mountains being blind. You can cause blindness, liver failure, and of course, you can also cause death if you don't distill correctly. So I don't know how I feel about suddenly unleashing a populace that isn't what I would call the smartest on this, home production of potentially deadly spirituous alcohol.
My fly in the buttermilk from this thing was different from yours. I was like, oh, does this mean moonshine as a category is going to go away? And I think we can, I'm going to go with no. I think we can expand that to liquor that was distilled without a specific commercial distillation license.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can still have, apple pie out of a still inside of a stump in Appalachia and still call that moonshine. So don't worry about it. That legacy isn't going anywhere. I don't know. Call me a skeptic, call me a Thanos is right guy. I don't really have that much of a problem with people messing around with distillation and accidentally blowing themselves up. Look, fireworks illegal. People blow themselves up with that shit all the time.
Fair.
Because they're being stupid. You can't unstupid the human population. Give people the tools, make the safety precautions extremely visible and available. But people are going to people, man. And I think it's better that we don't risk criminalizing someone who knows what they're doing and is just trying to, make some fun little apricot eau de vie for themselves in their home still. And no, I'm not going to say the next part of that sentence. Y'all can fill it in for yourselves, listeners. I don't want to sound that callous on the air, but I think you know where I was going with that thought.
I do.
Okay.
I've already been there too.
I know. But let's get to the major news headline.
This is the major one?
Week.
I know the one you're talking about.
No, I'm saving dessert for last. Okay. The founder of SantaCon
was
arrested.
SantaCon.
Yes, beloved New York institution SantaCon. Every single bartender's favorite day of the year. Is it? Oh, yeah, that's right. It is national.
It happens in multiple cities.
Yeah, God. Well, anyway, the person behind all of that revelry and joy was arrested for siphoning more than $1 million away from charitable donations. Yes, it was big news. I'm sure everyone listening to this has their own personal feelings about SantaCon that I don't really think we need to spike the football on, but I actually kind of want to do a different angle of this that I think was underreported. Kathy Hochul, our New York governor, had a tweet about this after it happened. She tweeted out, all caps, "The reign of terror is over." And look, every time Kathy Hochul tries to be relatable and human, it kind of looks like a dog standing on its hind legs. This to me is a dog standing on its hind legs while tainting a jury pool. What are you doing? Yeah. Look, like I'm allowed to make snarky cracks about the SantaCon founder canceling Christmas because I run a podcast where we talk about getting hammered. You're the governor. We have a justice system. What are you thinking? Come on.
Well, I mean, listen,
Kath.
This is mirroring and echoing, some of the shenanigans that come from the highest office in our land, and again, this is for our political podcast, but, it doesn't shock me anymore what politicians have to say and how they do things like taint jury pools or taint public opinion about ongoing investigations, et cetera. It's ludicrous. However, I'm glad to see comeuppance with someone who is doing something nefarious, especially when they're doing it under the guise of doing something altruistic.
Absolutely.
Like, let this guy, burn. Whatever fate is before him is deserved, and I think it's gonna be ugly. Also,
and all of this, I just want to point out, is coming from concern over the people that his charity victimized. We're not thinking at all about everyone who's been wearing a red velour suit who is thrown up in our bathrooms over the last decade. We're better than that. Yeah. That is miles away from our mind. We're definitely not thinking about the person in a Grinch costume who picked a fight with someone who is just sitting there at a bar in 2018. We're so far. We're so over it.
I mean,
we're just concerned about the law here.
I truly am. I'm more concerned about the duping of people. Like any people being duped is a problem for me. I don't really participate in SantaCon. In fact, I map it out on my calendar and I make sure that I'm not around on that day anymore. I'm not behind the bar. I'm not in the East Village for sure. That's up to me to just if someone's trying to have a good time, let them have it. I work in a business where I purvey poison to people, and then I oversee their behavior. So I don't really care about that. I do care about, I'm a charitable person. I'm doing a charity event next week myself.
Yeah.
I'll plug that real fast. Sandwiches of History. Barry Enderwick is going to do a talk about historic sandwiches. I'm going to make cocktails using some Brown Forman products, actually, Ford's Gin and Old Forester. Garrett Oliver is going to be pairing the sandwiches with some unreleased and never to be released beers. So a real opportunity to try some cool stuff from him. And we're doing it all to raise money for Brooklyn Org, which is, a nonprofit here in Brooklyn that helps struggling businesses and other charitable organizations here. It's a mutual aid fund, basically, here in Brooklyn. So, I'm all about charity and charitable events and being transparent about those things. And this burned me because I already didn't really like the way that they went about their business. But then to find out that he was skimming most of the money off, right? It just means that it was a scam from the beginning, and that sucks. And then, of course, like, wow, way to also go ahead and brutalize, a beloved character in most people's lives, right? So you're using Santa Claus to be to steal money.
Sother Teague, famous Santa stan.
Yeah,
you can pervert the holiday all you want, but leave Santa Claus alone. And you know who else absolutely loves Santa Claus? I assume they're nice people. Our guests for today, because joining us here in the studio, we have the owner and lead bartender of an upcoming Bushwick concept called The Museum. It's Misha Chavez and Bobbi Adler. Thank you so much for coming on the show, you two. It's great to see you.
Yeah, hi guys.
Hi, thank you so much for having us.
Great to be here.
Super stoked to have you here. Really excited to learn a little bit more about this concept. And I want to jump right in with it because this concept hits right in the direct center of the nerdy pleasure cortex of my brain. But I would love to hear you two explain it for our listeners, particularly the part where you call the bar a living museum. So tell us a little bit about that.
So growing up, my mom would always take me to natural history museums. And as a general theme, science, especially ecology, things, plants and animals, the way that they're interacting with their environments have always been really, really fascinating to me. We had a rule at home. You could watch maybe half hour to an hour of TV, but if it was National Geographic, Discovery, Animal Planet, there was no cap. So it allowed me a lot of opportunities, and my family pretty much encouraged me to do something like this from the start. I went and disappointed them by becoming a bartender. So I left the biology degree behind, and which I never got in the first place. I want that to be said. I have a marketing degree, which is almost as good. And
much more transparent than the founder of SantaCon here. We value that. Thank you.
And for the record, we do actually love Santa. We're very pro Santa in this household. I moved to New York bartending, and I got a membership at the Museum of Natural History. And what I have found time and time again is that every time I go, I'm shocked by the diversity of people that are in that building. I feel like when you go to art museums or any other kind of museum, it's generally skewed in some direction. Somebody's a little older, somebody's a little younger, a certain demographic tend to populate certain museums. But the Natural History Museum, to me, is the great equalizer. I've never seen the same type of person, and yet every single one of them always has this same look on their face where they're joyful, they're curious, they're excited. And I think the reason for that is because natural history is kind of everything. It's everything that makes us human and also allows us to connect to the world around us and to understand it. I think as humans, we're naturally very curious. That's how we've made it this far, right? We really want to know what's going on around us. We want to know why things happen. And natural history is kind of that quintessential example of that. So for me, I feel a bar should do the same things. Bars should be a place where people can come be curious and excited and come together and get along and feel equalized and feel like everybody's together in the same space.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the menu. You're going to break it into sections: the permanent exhibits and the seasonal exhibits. What does a permanent collection look like, and how do you make those cuts? And then what does seasonal elements look like?
You go ahead, lead bartender.
Yeah. So basically what we're doing is the permanent exhibit is going to be each pillar of the Natural History Museum. So anywhere, any different room you'd find in the museum will be based on a cocktail. So all of the ingredients are going to be taken from what we would be using in replace of like having the curation of the cocktail. So we have like the plant species, which has all of the different parts of plants infused in there. So it's like pandans infused into the gin, and then gin.
This gin.
Gin. Sorry, my brain is all over the place right now. Into the gin, and then we're doing like a horchata syrup, and then did we add marshmallow in there?
The idea is basically you have every part of a plant in one cocktail.
Thank you, yes.
Right? So we're taking the different pieces that you would find in any natural history museum across the world, and then we're turning them into drinks. So talking about the plant species, there's a bark, there's a root, there's a seed, a grain, a fruit, a leaf. All these different ingredients are coming together and essentially creating something that tastes like a cardamom horchata, right? Or the ocean life, I think, is the best example that I love to show people because it physically looks like the ocean. It's served in a Collins glass. It's black to blue to white. And the way we do it is essentially a rum lime coconut blue curacao cocktail wedged between a cuttlefish ink syrup and coconut water foam. And then instead of saline, we're using fish sauce. So we're trying to bring in as many thematic elements into these cocktails in a way that still makes them taste good. We refuse to lose the quality of the actual cocktail for the sake of a theme, because I think that does happen often. People are so excited to show off their imported mangoes that are only picked by 3-year-old raccoons and shipped across the world to get here and fermented for 18.5 days. But then you drink it and it's either a margarita with no other discerning qualities, or it's just an unbalanced cocktail. So really trying to push the idea that you can get weird and wacky, but also have it still taste interesting and be kind of founded in these classic and modern classic frameworks.
It sounds like a lot of drinks on the opening menu, some of the ones that I got to try at one of the pop-ups you were doing last winter, have a very unabashedly pronounced presentation, I think is the word that I'll say. You know, I think a lot of people, when they're doing something, they'll do that. I don't even know what it's called, but the thing where you have like the long trail of bubbles on like a hook that's like dripping into the glass. And they kind of are like, oh, this old thing. There's a sort of like, oh yeah, presentation doesn't matter. Even though, you know, in the back of their mind, they're like, people taste with their eyes first. And it sounds like you two are kind of really leaning into that and being honest about it, which I appreciate.
You should know what you're getting yourself into, or at least have an idea. And if it's going to change, that should be intentional. If you think you're going to go this way based on the presentation and the flavor goes this way, as long as it makes sense, that's okay. But actually, one of my biggest pet peeves is when people refuse to put a garnish on a cocktail. They're like, oh, we don't need it. You're right. You don't. But it doesn't mean it's not going to add something. And you should, after putting all this time and energy and effort into creating a really extraordinary flavor, I think you owe it to the guest, especially at $25 a cocktail, to put a garnish. And honestly, I'm always a little bummed out when I don't get anything. I'm like, this is a glass with some liquid. Okay, cool. But it costs $25, and some people travel across the world to go try these drinks. You're not going to put a garnish? You're not going to do anything to make this more of an interesting experience, because there's 13 other bars within a 2-block radius that are doing the same thing as you. What about this is special or weird, right? I never set out to be the best bartender in the world. I don't think I ever will be, but I'm determined to do something different and something that hasn't been done before. And I think Bobbi thinks the same way. So we're really excited to just kind of push the boundaries of what that can look like. And I realized I didn't even tell you anything about the special exhibits. Essentially, those are our seasonal rotating menus, where the permanent exhibit is fixed and it's each piece that will always be there. Special exhibit is a kind of a deep dive into one concept. So we'll do dragons, we'll do snakes of South America, we'll do crystals, which she's very excited about. We did a pop-up at Paradise with that. We did zombies at Paradise Lost, did psychedelics at Grand Army. So the cool thing about that also, it allows us to attack cocktails from a different angle. When you're trying to create a cocktail inspired by a giant squid and a sperm whale, you're not going to end up with a Manhattan riff, right? Even if you end up using that as a framework, it's going to be something inherently weirder because you're not looking at it as a Manhattan riff, right? You're looking at it through the lens of ambergris or the interaction that they have, or where giant squids live, which for the record is in Nordic seas. So we wanted to bring in some aquavit flavors, like things like that. And it kind of allows us and our bartenders to get weirder with it.
I mean, you've done a lot of like pop-ups, and you have to do pop-ups at other bars where you have to kind of like merge your concept with what they have going on at their bar. And you just mentioned the thing you did at Paradise Lost with the zombie. I would imagine this is a pretty difficult thing to plug your concept into another bar. What are the sort of pleasure points and pain points of doing the pop-ups? Because I know you're intent on continuing to do those once you're open as well, right?
I think Bobbi can probably speak to the pain points more than me because she was suffering while I was head down making drinks as fast as possible, and she had to kind of wing it and let everybody know what was going on.
Yeah, it was definitely challenging. Just like having a pop-up is always tricky because you have people that are coming in just for regular service, not understanding that this is a bar takeover. And like he said, he was very deep within tickets and just trying to push out as much as he could. So I kind of came on board as just kind of like the guiding of walking through, being like, okay, so this is what we're doing. This is what's actually happening. But I think it really does attest to our program, because the people that were just coming in for a regular service at a different bar were so excited about what we were doing and excited to come to our next one at the next place we were doing. So that was a really cool thing, because everyone has some story at the Natural History Museum and everyone wants to talk about that. And I think this program really gives people that expression and in that moment to be able to tell what they love about the Natural History Museum, and then even inspire us to do other things, you know? So it really is just like a very good community building experience, having all of that come together.
Also, as far as blending with another concept, wherever we're going, we actually built the special exhibit around where we were going to be popping up. So what I would do is I would kind of go around and check in with friends and see if there was an opportunity to pop up in their space. And then I would go sit there and look at their menu and try and draw inspiration from them. And then once I had that special exhibit, I would double check to make sure that they were okay with it. And then I would build it out. Because we always build conceptually first, and then I'd say essentially the way that we would do it, for example, Grand Army, right? We said, let's do psychedelics because they've got this kind of trip.
Because Damon Bolte.
Yeah. Kind of an otherworldly vibe. You've got these kind of psychedelic art pieces scattered around the place, mix and match with some plants, and it feels like you could go in there and have a really nice trip, right? So I go, okay, Patty, we're going to do psychedelics. She's like, great, love it, done. Get after it. So I sit down and I'm like, okay, which psychedelics to me are recognizable, number one, because we have to present this to people. We do want to have the opportunity to tell stories and to talk about the science parts of these things, but we also don't want people to be scared off because they can't pronounce an 8-syllable chemical name, right? So the cocktails were called acid or mushroom, right? Not psilocybin or whatever LSD stands for, which we'll have written down so I don't have to remember. But the idea is we just kind of sit down and go, okay, what's going to make sense in this space, right? They tend to go a little cheekier, a little weirder. So when we're doing the toad cocktail inspired by these Sonoran desert toads, they actually produce DMT. It's in their poison. And there was one single paper by one guy who figured out that if you kind of grab the toads and squeeze them a little, they get scared, they squirt their poison out, and it's this milky white substance. And when you scrape it off, you can smoke it, and it's got DMT in it, right? So it sends you on this crazy trip. And the only reason we even know about this is because of that one guy who made it his mission to release a pamphlet about it.
Yeah. So grab every toad you see because it might lead to a fun trip.
Don't lick the toads. They're in danger now because of this. Do not lick the toads. But we wanted to lean into that kind of toad concept. So we did a little gummy frog dipped in a Szechuan peppercorn syrup. So when you would lick the garnish, it would make your mouth numb. And the idea is, okay, you're licking the toad. And then cocktail, I was like, how do we make this milky white and delicious? And then ironically, it also ended up being kind of an horchata. If you haven't noticed the theme, I really like that stuff. And I'd say the biggest challenges are probably just the fact that we're putting in so much time and energy and work for one day, right? The residencies were a little bit more satisfying, I'd say, because we'd have a few times to get it right. But it was like, if I forgot one single object at home that I wanted out on the bar top or one ingredient, we're screwed.
Yeah.
You know, you misread one recipe. Bobbi had to run downstairs with Patty and re-acid adjust my prickly pear puree because I did the math wrong in my head. And so this drink that was perfect was no longer perfect, right? And they got it really close because they fixed it to the best of their abilities, but it's impossible. We ran out of puree. So it wasn't as perfect as I wish it was. Mm-hmm. And that's just what it is when you're doing a pop-up. You just kind of have to smile and wave and hope that nobody notices and assume that your sword shot ski and your dinosaur shot glass holders are going to win them over, even if the cocktail's not perfect. But I think that's also kind of the fun thing about running a pop-up. There's in some ways less pressure, right? There's more pressure because this is all you have, right? That one service is what defines you, but there's less pressure because nobody knows what you are. So even if we screwed up, they might not even know. So you just keep playing and have fun. Yeah, it was supposed to be like that. Mm-hmm. Let me fix it next time.
I mean, Miles Davis famously said, if I hit the wrong note, when it comes around again, I hit it wrong again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I do that at the bar. I know that there's many times in the past where I've made a drink and I've maybe screwed the spec up and it went out and then they ordered it again. So I just make it again the way I made it before.
Look at the Negroni Spagliato.
Yeah.
Assuming the story's any kind of right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or penicillin, you know, just kind of sometimes these things happen. Not again, to go back to your point, like don't lick toads and don't be like science is bullshit. Just try it. But like, you know, allow room for happy accidents too.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned earlier, and as I think my obvious enthusiasm shows, I think this concept rules, but I do have to ask, are you concerned that there's going to come a day where you're like, fuck, I wish I could just put a highball on the menu without having to reference like this one particular type of lichen that grows on a mountain in Hokkaido or something?
I have a feeling that day's going to come a lot sooner for Bobbi than for me.
Yeah, this is. I felt like this is a Bobbi question, maybe, but
No.
Oh no. Okay. All right.
No,
there you have it. No.
It's such a cool and unique thing that it brings, and all of our team is going to be helping build the cocktails and build the program in the way that everybody's doing the research. Everybody's bringing in their ideas and bringing in what they want to add into it. So like the permanent exhibit will stay the same. And then once we do the special exhibits, that's where everyone has the opportunity to bring to life what they're excited about, you know, and we'll pick the special category, and then everyone on the bar team gets to have a say in what we're doing. And then we're kind of finalizing, okay, yes, this does work with the concept. This does make sense. But I think it's a really good thing for our team to be able to expand what they're knowing and bring everyone together.
The other thing is when you're looking at cocktails through this lens, you don't run out of ideas, and you find inspiration from a lot of other things that might not be apparent to you. I feel like I've had bartender friends of mine be like, I'm running out of ideas, right? So maybe they do just want to do a highball, but they don't know what they want to put in it. They're maybe excited about this apricot eau de vie that they found from a moonshiner in Appalachia, or, you know, they're excited because they had this one dish and they're drawing on those flavors. But we're making cocktails talking about the southern grasshopper mouse that eats scorpions, right? And Bobbi goes, we should do a spicy rider on the side. And like, that's a scorpion. Okay, perfect. Then the drink will be the mouse. How do we do that? And basically, when the scorpions strike the mice, they have a chemical process in their head that turns that poison into basically like an anesthetic. And so you watch them, they go like, ow, ow. And then they kind of go Super Saiyan, and then they grab the scorpions and drag them in. And I was like, what can we do to then nullify the spiciness? And we're like, okay, let's do some kind of peanut butter milkshake cocktail, because peanut oil and milk are really effective for mitigating the effect of capsaicin in your mouth, right? Then it's like, boom, there's our cocktail. So yeah, in theory, it might be easier to just throw a highball on, but to create something really interesting takes a lot of work and energy anyway. And this takes a lot of the creative, I'd say like roadblock out of it.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, pick something else. If you're doing dinosaurs and you can't come up with anything for stegosaurus, you do T-Rex instead, right? Because there's so many options to draw from. We also will have kind of a secondary concept within the bar called the gift shop.
Ooh, yeah. I was going to ask about that. Yeah, tell me all about the gift shop.
Sure. The space that we have inherently came with kind of a third of it in the front and 2/3 in the back. So we knew we wanted to do the museum, but we needed something else that would be worthwhile visiting in the front. We didn't want to just be like, all right, this is like a cafe or something, right? So we extended it, and this is going to be the gift shop. So that'll be our space for retail, cocktails, basically like coffee, tea, and pastries as drinks, right? So you're in a museum cafe / gift shop. And I think that we're going to be a little bit, I don't want to say less creative, but a little bit less thematically focused in that front area. Mm-hmm. So that will allow a little bit more freedom for things like some kind of highball or some sour. If a bartender is really excited, we can do a special up there, or a milk punch, or something that rotates, and it's not gonna throw us off in the same way it would in the back. So we can still very much stay on brand. And actually for the gift shop, we're planning to do 2 special exhibit cocktails that are not actively part of it, or part of the special exhibit, but adjacent. So our leak for the podcast, our first special exhibit is going to be dinosaurs. We're going to wait a few months to style everything in, and then we'll release it. And we're thinking we'll probably do a couple of cocktails in the gift shop that are dinosaur adjacent, but not dinosaurs. So maybe a pterodactyl and a plesiosaurus inspired cocktails, because everybody thinks, oh, these are flying dinosaurs, these are swimming dinosaurs. They're not. There are other families of reptiles that existed at the same time. And I think that would be a really neat way to kind of start the conversation about that too. Mm. So we can explain to people, hey, by the way, a pterodactyl is not a dinosaur. We're not going to stop you if you call it that. But here is why. And we have the cocktails to kind of start telling that story. So we're leaving ourselves some options, really, to answer the question.
Yeah. Regular speakeasy heads will know that I also do some writing in addition to this show. And what you're describing reminds me of the difference between fiction and nonfiction. Like when you're writing fiction, it's almost, there's a decision paralysis that comes with it, because you're kind of like, I can literally make these characters do anything. And based on the infinite number of possibilities, you have to winnow it down to one that is the most satisfying. Whereas if you're writing nonfiction, you're limited to just saying the facts. And it almost sounds like you're writing nonfiction cocktails, where because you kind of have that directive, it's more inspirational. And because you're not able to just, you don't have that decision paralysis of like, I just want to do a highball, but what am I going to do? Yeah. Having to do something based in fact sounds like it almost gives you a go-to place to return to if and when you ever get stuck.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've noticed definitely, like, as we're building the cocktails, it's very research-based, where it's like, okay, we're doing one that's all birds. Let's go look up facts about birds.
Birds aren't real.
That brings inspiration so easily, where it's just like, okay, now we can just pick and choose which flavors we like, which ones we don't like. We can take the ones away that make absolutely no sense for this, but it makes it so much clearer than just having to grab out of a whim from like absolutely nothing.
What I usually do is I'll go research anything we're trying to make a cocktail inspired by, and I'll write down 10 to 15 ingredients that to me make sense, inspired by that. And then from that list, I'll pick 5 or 6 that actually work together in a cocktail and would taste good together. Because sometimes it does get a little crazy, right? Like if you're researching bears, like bears eat a lot of stuff, not necessarily things that are going to be aligned culinarily with what we're doing, right? There's a reason there's no bear chefs. And it's mainly because
there's a bear whiskey maker. We have.
Wait a minute. Were you say, are you going on the record and saying the reason there aren't more bear chefs is diet based?
I'm saying that's one of the reasons.
Well, I also see like a real opportunity here to say to yourself, okay, we're going to do, as you just said, a pterodactyl inspired cocktail. And if you're going collaborative with your team, then this means that you're going to come up with whatever the cocktail is right now. And then, frankly, next year, if you wanted to do a pterodactyl cocktail, you'd come up with something different. Based on what the team's perspectives were. Yeah. Right. So I don't think that you're going to, quote unquote, run out of ideas. You're just going to see them from a different viewpoint and, create different cocktails through that aperture.
I think so, too. And it's funny because I feel like I see your brain working back there, what you think a pterodactyl cocktail might look like. And I would actually love to hear how you guys would go about building a drink for these menus. And the coolest thing about this concept has been quite literally every single time I've told somebody about the bar, I see their eyes light up, right? And I don't think, I'm not sitting here like, oh, I came up with the best thing ever. I don't even feel like I came up with this idea. I just saw it. And I was like, that would be a good bar. Let's do that. And so even the concept has been driven by that framework where I'm looking at it and it's like, if I was going to open a natural history bar, there are only certain things that make sense, right? Of course I have to have dinosaur shot glass holders. Like, there is no other way to do it. It's not an option. It just, like you said, it's nonfiction. It's just there. This is what a natural history museum bar would do. And people get so excited and they look at me and they always have ideas. And the greatest thing about it is 95% of the ideas have been really good too. I'm always shocked how many good ideas I get for this concept from other people. I go, yeah, we're doing that. And I have a list. I just have a document on Google Drive and I just add in different categories, food and beverage and space and interaction. It's really, really awesome to be able to draw so much from community support.
This reminds me of an amazing quote I love from Gary Larson, the cartoonist who did The Far Side. Someone asked him if he was worried he was ever going to run out of ideas, and his response was, as long as there are animals in nature that spit, vomit, and breed in disgusting and beautiful ways, I will never, ever, ever run out of ideas for this comic strip.
Yeah.
It's wild. Like, you know, we think about all these pieces of folklore and mythology, and actually that's going to be kind of the line that we draw right at the edge between like natural history and human history. We feel folklore and mythology is going to be okay, right? Because a lot of the times these creatures have ecological descriptions, right? When they're talking about certain dragons in folklore, they always say what that dragon eats and where it lives and things about it and what it looks like. Like, that's basically ecology, even though it's kind of unnatural history. But so many of the things in our natural world are so much weirder. I've seen this comparison between like a unicorn and a giraffe, right? A unicorn is a horse for all intents and purposes with a horn. That's really not that bizarre. But when you describe a giraffe, there's this creature from the Arthurian King Arthur stories called the questing beast. And when you look at its description, it's something along the lines of like the head of a horse with horns, with the neck of a snake, the haunches of a leopard, and the hooves of an antelope. And you're like, what? And then you look at a giraffe and you're like, oh,
That's exactly it.
there it is.
Yeah.
The giraffe's legs are so long, they can't actually reach the ground with their head to get water without spreading their legs like this. And it puts them in an extremely vulnerable position for predators. Why would that exist? But a horse with a horn, we don't have that?
Right.
We didn't get that expansion pack? That's crazy.
Yeah.
No, I
and-
think if you were to show like someone with just a cursory knowledge of life on this earth, a picture of a horse and a dolphin and be like, which one of these in the natural world comes with a variety that has a huge horn? People are like, obviously the horse. That other animal sounds perverse and disgusting, and I don't know why you would even think that. Like, why would that happen? But here we are.
Yeah.
Here's the narwhal. Yeah, I mean, you can go have some fun on the internet and look around for medieval and Victorian age artists who were given descriptions of Saharan animals that they'd never seen, and they tried to draw them. Look at some of the lions. Look at some of the hippopotamuses. It's crazy looking stuff based on description alone. Pretty wild.
If you're hearing the sound of my voice right now, I've got some bad news for you. You are only getting about 60 to 70% of the conversation that we had today with our guest. But if you want to hear the whole thing, you can join us and become a regular on our Patreon.
That's right. To hear the rest of the conversation, join us on our Patreon, become one of our regulars, and you'll receive all kinds of perks, including ad-free listening, so you won't have to hear us do this again.
And in addition to ad-free listening and longer shows, you are also going to get cocktail recipes from all of our guests, access to our live monthly hangouts, and a free cocktail kit each and every month from our good friends at Shaker and Spoon.
So head over to Patreon and become a regular of the Speakeasy. We'd love to have you there. Cheers. Speaking of spaces that people want to be in, sounds to me like this front part, the gift shop, is kind of a space you want people to linger in. Are you trying to build like a third space that is both sort of weirdly educational, a place to get a drink, and a place that you can just hang out for and while away some time with some friends? Is that what the drive is?
Yeah. Sorry, I got confused because we have two spaces. A third place outside of work and home, right?
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Your two spaces
We don't have
as a third place for people to go.
Spaces. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
We do technically have a third little piece inside the bar, the exhibition hall that connects them. So we're going to fill that with display cases and put things. But as far as, as a third place, the gift shop, is meant to be a little bit more casual, a little more, you just come hang out, have a drink. We're going to be carrying some beers, like, for example, from KCBC around the corner, Kings County Brewing Company. And it's like, we would love for you to just come hang out and drink some beers and have a milk punch and sit with your friends, and in the back, honestly, the same thing. It's just going to be a little harder because we're going to have to operate off a wait list. In an effort to encourage people just showing up, we're not going to have any reservations of any kind. So people can just kind of sit and hang out and enjoy their lives. But ideally, the entire space exists to foster curiosity and to start conversations about science and about the natural world. And the idea is that basically the front is kind of these lighter things, almost like an apothecary, right? Plants and crystals, maybe some butterflies, stuff like that, skulls. And then you get into the exhibition hall. It's a little more standard, like you'd find in a natural history museum display. And then the back gets kind of weird, like giraffes, things like that. Truly bizarre creatures. Even our bathrooms are going to be super thematic. One of them is deep sea themed and the other deep space themed. So it's kind of the really far reaches, the depths of human understanding. So things like that, like we're making the deep space bathroom glow and it looks like you're standing in outer space or looking out into it. The whole thing, we want to feel like something.
I love a themed bathroom. I was excited to visit your space, but now I'm excited to, visit the bathrooms as well. I'll do both while I'm there on my first visit and check it out.
Drink a lot of water.
Yes, exactly. Stay hydrated, y'all.
Or just go look at it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you don't need a reason. You can just go in and kind of admire it for a little while.
He's timing his stays. Like, I only have 15 more minutes to go check out that other bathroom.
Okay, perfect.
Don't worry, I won't be too much of a tourist at like 10 o'clock on a Friday or something like that. If I'm gonna really linger in the space, I'll try and do it like right at 5 when y'all open
We
on a
would love
Tuesday.
to have you. Honestly, the cool thing about this space and this concept is we can get away with so much more. Like, if something breaks, we can just hang a sign on it that says exhibit under construction. People can be like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. If you walk around like a tourist with a camera, we can just tell people we paid you to do it. It's part of the show. This is part of the experience. That's our photographer. That's Greg. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get one of those like daddy's little meatball shirts or something and like be real touristy about it.
But you gotta have a black.
Oh yeah, no, the fanny pack is key.
Non-existent.
That and an actual folding map.
Yes.
Man, those were the days.
I know. Okay, so I ask this anytime we've got people who are in business together who also have like a relationship outside of the bar or the distillery or whatever. And I have to ask this question because my worst nightmare is going into business with someone to whom I also say, I love you. So you two are a couple. What's it been like opening a bar together?
Honestly, it's been kind of cool. Like the support from both sides where it's just like we both know when we're too exhausted to be able to do anything else. And I feel like I have to pull him away from the bar right now just to be like, okay, it's 5 a.m. You've been painting since noon. Let's go home. Let's go like take care of ourselves. So honestly, I've had a great time doing this. I don't know about him.
No, I agree. And I think part of the reason that we work so well in a relationship is going to help us work really well in the bar setting because we balance. We're really similar kind of at our core, and then the expression of it is different, where I'm a little higher intensity and she's a little more calm. And so we kind of meet in the middle, and she forces me to take a breath and I help get her moving sometimes, you know? So it's this awesome balance. And it's like, she's excited about different things than I am. I love lizards and dinosaurs and squirrels, and she's really into crystals, and, you know, she loves butterflies, and she's got her cats that she came with. And, you know, it's been fun studying these creatures in our home together. And I don't know, we'll send each other things on Instagram, and we go thrift shopping together looking for weird little things for the bar. And we're pretty much on the same page about 90% of the things. And anytime we're not, it ends up with us finding a third better thing, right? If I say left and she says right, we end up going straight and everybody's happier. And that's really dope. The other thing is, to be honest, we've been so busy the entire time that we've been dating, almost 2 years at this point, that it's like we're actually going to get to spend time together. Little moments,
Instead of just
catching
doing the
each other.
pop-ups.
Yeah, we spend so much time on the pop-ups, and our jobs have both been really busy, and so it's going to be dope. We're going to be on the same schedule for once. We have an awesome chef, so we're both going to be able to actually eat enough. That's going to be very helpful. Our commute is literally 1 minute walking from our apartment to the bar.
That's a blessing and a curse, though. Watch out.
Listen, we're going to be there all the time. I'd rather get back that extra hour of commute every day.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And if I forget something at home, I can run home and get it. Or if she's off, I can run home, bother her for a little bit, and run back to the bar. It's great. And also we have our business partner, Bill. So he's kind of the third balance. And so we kind of all round each other out, which I think is really helpful as well. And a lot of the times it takes two people to wrangle me anyway. So it's probably for the best. And she has support, and we all kind of have that extra support at all times. It's been lovely.
I love this. I'm such a fan of this concept, and I'm a fan of it for nerdy reasons, but also because for the past 10 years, I think in this industry, we've been paying, this is going to sound weird to say, but we've been paying lip service to the idea of fun. You know, I think in like the mid 2010s, we're like, okay, like we're done with doing the, you know, hyper serious arm garter, tie clip, vest, bartender. We're just going to have fun. But that, I think, led to a lot of agonizing over how can I make a 16 touch Jaeger bomb. I'm having fun because I can tell how much fun the two of you are having with this. And it is very, very clear to me that that's going to be contagious once this place opens.
We hope so.
Yeah.
I think I got to experience that when I was at Lullaby.
Mm-hmm.
My wonderful friend Liz Hitchcock and I had so much fun behind that bar. And to Lullaby's credit, and Harrison and Daniel, like they gave us the freedom to do fun things.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody yelled at me for lighting the bar top on fire. And then I got to get even more creative with it. When I had a friend come visit me that I hadn't seen since high school, he was like, man, like this is like a campfire. You could roast marshmallows. And I was like, give me a second. And I ran next door and I grabbed marshmallows and we stuck them on the back of bar spoons. And then we were roasting marshmallows on the bar top. And nobody said anything. And everybody had a great time, you know? We brought in little cones to serve the Dole Whip in because we had it in a cocktail anyway. Why not? You walk into a bar and the bartender just hands you a small cone of pineapple soft serve with sprinkles. Your experience is immediately better than it would have been.
Yeah, delightful.
We want to create a space that feels fun inherently. Also, the concept can be kind of stuffy, right? It's a museum. So we got to walk this careful line between like not being too stuffy like a museum and not being a theme bar.
Yeah.
Like we don't want it to feel like you're at Disneyland. We also don't want it to feel, I don't know, not cozy. Like it should be cozy and comfortable and silly.
Right.
What do you feel like is the difference between Disneyland and something that the two of you are very proud of?
Ooh, I think for me, the biggest thing is if something is not real, don't try to make it seem real.
Mm-hmm.
And use as many real things as possible. Instead of using fake crystals, we'll go find actual crystals and use that to create a display. Or like we have a monkey lamp that hangs from a rope holding a light bulb, and he's fantastic, but it's very obvious that it's not a real monkey, right? It's pure black. It looks weirdly kind of elegant. It's not trying to be something that it's not. It's more like an art piece inspired by a monkey. You know, we're keeping the rhino. I don't know if you're familiar with the space, Rawa Rhino. They had a 4-foot hyper realistic rhino head, and we are indeed keeping it. We'll be repainting, but we're so things like that. You know, but like nobody thinks it's a real rhino. We're not going to go, oh, it's a real rhino. It's a piece of art. So I think that that's the biggest thing. I think in a lot of these theme parks, they're creating things that look really realistic, but you know that they're not. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree with all of that. Yeah.
It's the difference between putting forward that there isn't a noticeable difference between this obviously stuffed rhino head and an actual rhino head and acknowledging the gulf between those two.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, don't tread too close to the uncanny valley.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's really important. I've never thought about it like that, but I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's off-putting. Well, listen, we have had really enjoyed having you guys on, and we typically end the show with the same question, so I'm going to pose it to you. And I know you're busy, so you're probably not getting out a lot. But do you have a spot that you've been drinking lately that you'd like to shine a light on? Where do you get your drink on these days?
Home. No.
At home. At
That's
home
a
and
very
R&D, right?
popular answer on this show.
Yeah.
Where have I been going lately? I don't even know. You?
I absolutely adore Orion Bar in Bushwick.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that they're getting the notice that they should be. They're very much a neighborhood bar, but their cocktail program is excellent. Their food is really awesome. It's basically a neighborhood Korean bar, and I encourage anybody who can get there to go check it out. We collectively adore Romeo's. That's one of our favorite places of all time. I went to Oddball recently. I really enjoyed that. That was dope. I went back the next day with her because I liked it so much. And then, we
I'm
went.
like, have I ever been to a bar?
We went to Maison Premiere
Oh,
recently
that
for
was
the first
amazing.
time.
Yeah, I
Oh,
never.
wow.
and we just hadn't gone, and it was extraordinary. I think that they deserve all the credit that they get.
Yeah. I got a rattlesnake for the first time, and that was kind of life changing. I can't believe I never knew that existed.
And that it's going to be an option for your reptile study. Okay, pick two. Come on. You like bars?
I do love Portrait Bar. Portrait Bar's team is one of my favorites. I just
Love Portrait
incredible human beings.
And it's gorgeous.
Dear Strangers as well. That one's kind of been popping up for me. Their food is stupidly good, and their drinks are great.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
I mean, all great options. I've been to almost every one that you just mentioned. Orion, you're right. It is a little bit overlooked, right? I've been there a few times with my friend Kimmy to do just some hanging out and drinking. And the snacks, killer.
So good. That patty melt is out of this world.
I didn't have the patty melt.
That's my stomach every time, but I always get so excited. I can't really have gluten or dairy, but that's all it is.
Yikes.
Other than that,
like, it's not that it makes me sick from like the food quality. It's great quality. I just can't process it.
Right.
But that's how good it is. She keeps going back.
Right. I mean, listen, if you're willing to suffer for the thing you love, then it must be outstanding.
yeah.
Also vacations. I do love vacations.
Yeah. Fun. Turn up. Well, guys, thanks so much for being on. We've had a great conversation with you, and we're both looking forward to, hopefully this summer coming out to the museum bar and checking out like this very unique concept. So I really appreciate you giving us your time. Do you have an Instagram handle that you'd like to pitch out there so people can follow along with your progress?
At the Museum NYC.
At the Museum NYC. That's not going to confuse anybody. You're right.
Sign.
It was available.
The Museum NYC.
No, yeah, I got it.
That's it. Well, yeah, I guess everyone else is probably like the Natural History Museum or like the New York History Museum. You're just the museum. And I want to quickly plug something that I saw on your Instagram recently. It's a delightful follow. Everyone should check it out because I learned a really fascinating thing that there's a species of tarantula in South America that has been shown to keep tiny frogs as pets. And I have been quoting that to everyone who will listen. Anytime spiders or frogs or South America comes up, I'm like, I have a frog fact.
You want to know something even crazier? This has evolved separately in multiple jungles across the world. A giant tarantula has found a tiny little frog and been like, this is cute. And there are some tarantulas that have up to 12 frogs in their burrows. So there's like crazy cat lady equivalents of
the Curtis Sliwa of spiders.
They keep them like cats. They go and eat little bugs and stuff that the tarantula can't get to that might mess with the eggs or hurt the tarantula. And so they go, yeah, you can stay here. And they've actually observed tarantulas picking the frog up with their front legs and inspecting them with their little mandibles. And they just go, And it's like, it's the cutest thing ever. I love it. It's my favorite fact. She actually sent that to me
when
initially.
I found that, I was like, send.
This is not dissimilar to the way that crows approach ants. Do you know about this?
Really?
Yeah, crows like to pick up ants with their beak and not eat them and rub them on their feathers because apparently ants have some sort of protective pesticide on their skin that the crows rub on their feathers so that pesticide will get on them and keep like mites out of their feathers. But then it's been observed that they also simply seem to enjoy having the ants around.
That's
cute.
awesome. I mean, dude, that's a drink right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're planning to do a symbiosis special exhibit, so that would be super dope.
Yeah, check that out.
We got to exchange animal facts after this podcast is done.
Yeah, that'll be our new final question. Give us an animal fact.
Yeah. One fun animal fact.
That could be another podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Drinks and animal facts. Yeah, I think live from the museum,
Yeah.
bar and grill.
All right. So,
And bar. Bar and grill and bar.
Uh,
And podcast.
well, Misha and Bobbi, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been delightful having you in here with us.
very nice.
Of course. That is going to do it for us this week on the Speakeasy. But if you want more fun drink and animal facts, you can become a regular on our Patreon. Our Patreon regulars, as I'm sure everyone knows, get
You get one free live crow.
yes, exactly.
Just one.
Our Patreon regulars get one free live crow, not available in all 50 states or the District of Columbia, but you do get longer shows, ad-free shows, a free cocktail kit each and every single month from our good friends at Shaker and Spoon, and cocktail recipes from all of our guests. So if you want to see a fun recipe that is perhaps going to be on the opening day of the museum exhibits, you should head on over to our Patreon and become a regular today. I also want to plug, well, actually, this is a good time, Sother, for you to plug Sauced. What's going on with you all over there? Give us our usual Sauced update.
Oh, yeah. Well, we took 2 weeks off here for spring break, but that just meant I doubled down on Sauced, and we've been banging out episodes. They are going swimmingly, and we have our bonus episode, which is on our subscriber page. This time around is history, right? So we always do a bonus episode each month. It's always an ingredient, a side dish, a technique, or a piece of cool history. And this one is all about onions and artichokes and how they have come into play in the financial world and the mob. So it's a really cool episode. So check out Sauced.
Hell yeah. You can probably even squeak that in under the true crime heading too. Get all those good hashtags on there.
Oh, I mean, it's definitely all about crime.
Hell yeah.
Onion crimes and artichoke crimes. Some perpetrated by, again, the financial institutions, and some perpetrated by the mafia. I'll leave it up to you to guess which is which. There's a big artichoke right behind me.
Hell yeah. Yeah, exactly. Artichoke crimes, my favorite type of crime. So tune into that, and be sure to tune in back to this show next week when our guest is going to be Kevin Lee from Tokyo Noir in Long Beach. Really fun. Speaking of tiny spaces with a really cool concept, it is a Tokyo style bar that has a really interesting food and drink program. I got the chance to go there while we were on spring break. Really excited to talk with him about the concept. It is going to be great. Tune in for that. But until that day comes, cheers, everybody.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Peace.
So you don't charm the devil with your rock and roll load. Knows that country music's gonna save your soul. The devil runs his groove.